Welcome to another edition of Our City. A few things going around the city of Elizabeth this week. On Saturday, April 13th, I'm going to attend a series of Easter egg hunts that we do in the city of Elizabeth every year. And kicking off at 9:30 in the morning, in the second ward, it will be at Carteret Park. It's going to be hosted by the councilman of the second ward and the recreation department, Councilman Nelson Gonzalez. We're going to hold a ribbon cutting as well that day for a new inclusive playground to deal with disabled children. Also, it'll be followed by the Easter egg hunt at Carteret Park. And then right after that, around noon, the Fifth Ward egg hunt will be held at Canal Field on Fanny Street. And finally, at 2 p.m., the First Ward egg hunt will be held at the Miller Evans Logan Center, located at 161 First Street. The Fifth Ward's hosted by the Recreation Department and Councilman Bill Gallman, the First Ward by Councilman Carlos Torres, and the Recreation Department. Each Easter egg hunt will feature free candy, prizes, and of course, a visit from the Easter Bunny. Participants are asked that you please bring your own basket and are encouraged to bring your own camera for pictures with the bunny. For more information, please call our Recreation Department at 908-820-4220. So if you need more information concerning these events or any other events, please call our Public Information Office at 908-820-4124. And for tonight's guest, I'm pleased to be joined by an Elizabeth native, someone who went into the music industry, went to school here, an Elizabeth musician, reality TV shows, and a great guy to get to know and talk with, Mr. Manny Cabo. Manny, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
So, tell us, you grew up in Elizabeth, went to school. Give us your background first.
I did. I actually graduated from high school here, back in 19. So, back in 88. And, baseball was my life. It was an incredible team that we had. I kind of got recruited to come here from St. Patrick's. And it was just an amazing time.
You went to St. Patrick's first, though, Manny, right?
For 3 years.
But you graduated from Elizabeth High School.
I did.
Okay.
Yeah, I wanted a little bit more of a competitive nature, so I figured, bigger school, bigger competition, and it sure was. Yeah, it was a great move too. But yeah, I love all of Elizabeth.
So I love baseball. What position did you play, man?
I was a pitcher.
You were?
Yeah. I was a pitcher. It was a great time, great team. We actually won the Watchung Conference Champions. Went to the States. We did pretty well that year.
You did.
Yeah,
and how about the career at St. Pat's?
It was, I only played 1 year there. And, it's like anything else. We were parochial. We were a small school. We were just starting to build. But I wanted, I figured that I needed some more intense competition. That's one of the reasons why I migrated to Elizabeth.
So what part of the city did you grow up in, Manny?
North End.
North End.
North End, yeah. Jackson Avenue.
What number?
606.
Oh, because I grew up on North Avenue.
Oh, that's too funny.
1020, right across from the North Avenue Bakery.
We used to have Scarlotta's Pizzeria
right
on the corner, yeah.
My father was probably your mailman. Believe it or not.
I wouldn't doubt. I don't remember much from those days, but yeah, it was a good neighborhood. And I just recently moved here toward close to Elmore, that area. It's nice.
You have a family too, right, Manny?
I do.
Kids?
I do.
How many?
Wife and daughter.
Yeah, daughter, right? How old is she?
She is 13 going on 21.
Yeah,
she is.
They all get that.
Yeah, they grow up fast.
I know. I have a daughter who's 19. You're right. They're a little older than their years, right?
Yeah.
So you've been in Elizabeth all your life. You've left to do music and things like that.
Right.
Musician as a career and a passion. When did it hit you, Manny?
I was kind of a late bloomer. I always try to do the right thing, go to college, get a good education, graduate Seton Hall, and did the corporate world. Worked in numerous companies, including Apple, Enterprise Rent-A-Car, and I always upheld a management position, but I knew there was something missing. And ever since I was young, I directed my first play in 5th grade, Halloween, and then Charlie Brown Christmas. And then in high school, I played drums at St. Patrick's for the school play. So music was always a part of my life growing up, especially my parents. They exposed me to a really eclectic background of music. And I started singing seriously probably in my early 30s.
Oh, that late?
Yeah, that late. So I was a late bloomer. So you weren't
singing as a teenager?
No. I was more of a visual guy. I was behind the camera, making movies, like I said, directing plays. But visually, I was always more attentive toward the camera side, being behind it and, taking photographs and, creating movies, little B-roll stuff, music videos back in the day when we had, gigantic pieces of equipment that you could barely carry around.
So Manny, talking about moments in Elizabeth,
Yeah.
I mean, the next question is some of the most memorable moments growing up in Elizabeth, but directing a play at 5th grade,
Yeah,
it's
5th
gotta be
grade.
memorable.
It was fun. I really did. I enjoyed. I've always been an avid arts lover, and it's one of those things where you just grow up with it. It's part of you. But directing the play was the inception of where it all started. That was, I left my mark in that, and it was like a bug that bit me, and it stayed with me forever. And then my dad got me into photography. He was a professional photographer, and I started to photograph my sister and her friends, and one thing led to another. When I departed to college, he gave me his entire suite of your arsenal of lenses and camera, and I began taking pictures in college. And then when I moved back, because my injury, I tore my rotacuff, so I couldn't pitch anymore. Luckily, I was a pretty decent student. So I came back, graduated from Seton Hall. I started the Seton Hall Film Association, got the first ever student photography gallery awarded to me. So that was pretty humbling for me, because everyone back in the day went to NYU or they went to Jersey City University. Seton Hall wasn't really known for an art school. So I wanted to do something for myself, Then I became the photo editor of the Setonian. And that's when I actually left my mark in the industry. I decided to really pursue it, and go for it. So music and photography have been my livelihood.
And you're still doing it.
Oh, absolutely, full
So,
time.
and we're going to talk about that even
Sure.
more. You got a favorite spot to hang out in Elizabeth?
I do. It was, graduating from Elizabeth High School, I loved the immediate area, but the Magic Fountain was my grow-up place, and
Growing up was your place.
growing up, yeah, and even now, got to become great friends with Barbara Matsfield, the owner, and Norman, who unfortunately recently left us too soon. But yeah, the food there is fantastic. The ambience, all the police officers, even friends that I grew up with, all hang out there. So it's my favorite place to
So
chill.
speaking of friends you grew up with, Manny, the first time I met you was you were having a dinner party at Valencia.
Yes.
And you had a lot of friends from high school there and others. And we're going to get into your first
From St.
appearance
Pat's,
on The Voice
actually,
from
yeah.
St. Pat's.
Yeah,
They were, right?
that's right.
And I came by and presented you the seal of our city in a plate. So you still in touch with like those, the people from St. Pat's and because they really seem to care about you. And I was just, how do you maintain all those friendships for those years?
It's one of the things that I try to at least proliferate in my own industry, because in the entertainment industry, it's really difficult. Not only is it difficult to succeed, but to hold on to strong relationships. And I've always been a person, and my dad, thankfully, I was raised with some good ethics about treating people kindly, with respect. I was a quiet kid, believe it or not, in high school. And I was always like, not the loner, but, I was more into the creative side. I was a terrible student in high school, I would run early, practice gigs, and because I was also a drummer.
You just got done telling me you were a good student.
Yeah, well,
you had the
not in
grades.
high school.
After
Not in
you
high
tore the
school.
rotator
Yeah.
cuff, you said, I had the grades, though.
I had the grades, but to me, I wasn't a great student. I got by. It wasn't like I went to school and that was my focus, is to become the best student possible. No, I went to school just to uphold the responsibility of at least, going through the system, getting decent grades.
And you like to play baseball.
Yeah,
And if you didn't go to school, you couldn't play baseball.
Exactly. You had to maintain the grade point average. So that they went hand in hand. But with respect to me, overall, I always erred on the side of the creativity. My relationships there have always been strong, and we had it was a small school, so we knew everybody, knew one another. And over the years, sure, it's like anything else, you depart, but you still sustain those friendships, especially the particular ones that you always clicked with. And I clicked with everybody. I was, class president for 3 years in a row, so I did something right. I had some sort of popularity.
Well, obviously, that dinner at Valencia's for people you haven't seen in a lot of years, and they all came together to celebrate with you.
Yeah,
was
I was
impressive.
grateful for that. I was grateful for that, and that was really, really nice. They didn't have to do that. But again, that shows you that, when you treat people kindly and with respect, they will reciprocate, especially when you
So
respect
if singing was ever off the table, is photography it, or is there other things you would do?
No, I also host a lot. I have my own YouTube channel, which I've dedicated for musicians. So being in front of the camera as well as behind the camera is a comfortable relationship for me. I could do both, but I really enjoy being in front of the camera as well, like doing what we're doing here today, interviewing, talking, discussing, but predominantly with artists. I love supporting the arts.
So I'm not an artist in any way, but I enjoy the arts. Right. I mean, I think so. I just formed an arts council in Elizabeth to expand on what we're doing, basically to get more artists work in buildings, parks, things like that, as well as, you and I were at the play for the high school a couple of weeks ago. Right. Those kids, you spoke at halftime.
Yeah.
Intermission. Halftime would be
That's all good. It's
game,
Elizabeth.
Right?
It's a sports city. It's fine. It'll work.
So, but your message to those kids were, we need more of this. So how do we do more arts in Elizabeth?
Well, first of all, it starts with the education. It starts with the teachers. If the teachers are passionate about the arts, the kids will get passionate. And you know what? You have to expose them more with respect to encouraging them. Because it's like myself and my music and most artists out there, we suffer from the tree that fell in the wood syndrome. There are so much talent, so many kids out there that want to do it, but we won't know, unless we put the word out, the flyers, word of mouth, more events that we can cater to those needs. Because I'd rather have them performing the arts and going out in the streets and starting trouble. I was there, so I've lived both sides of the spectrum. Idle minds and idle company, they have a tendency to be mischievous. But if kids are focused on something creative, you'd be surprised how much energy is exerted, good energy.
Well, taking that play at the high school the other night, Evita, and the effort that went into that play, to me, the kids all hit their lines at the right
Flawless.
time.
I was
singing
impressed.
was very good. The choreography was terrific as well.
I think above all, it was a collective spirit, that you could feel it emanating because there's so much passion toward the teacher. She was just incredible and evidenced by the applause at the end and by the heartfelt words that were given. It takes a leader, it takes a leader to really unite a group. And I see it in their performance, that it was a very emotional atmosphere, but a positive one. And that speaks volumes when you have great educators.
So Manny, tell us about your most memorable moments then as a musician.
As a musician, wow, selling out Prudential Arena. We had a 5-arena tour that we sold out shows with American Young Voices. I've had the honor of performing with so many incredible artists, on the Latin side, like Gran Combo for salsa, Latin-speaking folks, Three Doors Down, Stain, Cold, Godhead, so many artists out there that I've had the privilege to share the stage with. And as much as I love that, my philosophies nowadays has always been living in the moment, and I try to show musicians that, because I used to make that mistake. I used to worry about the end results and what's happening next, and what about the audience? Oh, there's only 1,000 people as opposed to 50,000. And at the end of the day, when you close your eyes, it's all the same. You do things because you have a passion for it. You can't do things for the accolades, for the financial gain, for the popularity. It means nothing. Even as an example, when I was on The Voice, I had over 80,000 followers. And I just recently canceled that account, started fresh, because it was getting so many fake emails, DMs, and everyone's like, well, what can you do for me? So I started it all over, and I began with an organic process. I'm starting from scratch. I want to get some real followers. I started remarketing. And the reason why I did that is because we're living in a society where social media is educating our kids. It can't be that way, and those out there have a responsibility to properly educate those. There's so much competition and so much ego and greed that I'm trying to be the offset. I'm trying to be the anomaly that fosters positivity, especially in our realm and in our youth, because our youth is our future. They have a chance to do it way better than we did, way better. And through the arts, I feel that that's a great way of uniting people, of accentuating talents, because people from all different, language-speaking cultures. There's no color. There's nothing. It's just creativity, and that's the beauty. It's a universal language, and that's one of the reasons why it's always appealed to me and why I'm putting so much effort into it.
So Manny, we're going to take a break, run a couple of commercials,
Sure.
come back, and we're going to start off with The Voice in both languages.
Awesome. Yeah.
Please stay with us after these messages. Back more with Manny Cabo.
Just minutes from New York City, we are the gateway to the state of New Jersey. Experience Elizabeth. It all starts here.
Welcome back to our city, where I'm joined by Mr. Manny Cabo. Manny, one of the things we were talking about in the break, you're the only music artist, not only in Elizabeth, but in New Jersey, to be on not one, but two TV reality singing competitions in different languages.
Yeah.
So tell us first about The Voice,
Right.
and then it was La Voz, right?
La Voz, right?
So what was the process to get on The Voice and then go through that? You also said you gave up a lot to do this too. When
I did.
first met with you years ago.
You sacrifice a lot, and it's a daunting task to go through the whole process and then to do it twice. Being on The Voice is incredible. The experience and the competition alone. I mean, I had to beat out probably 48,000 other contestants, and that's global. And
That's just to get on, right?
That's just to get on. Yeah, absolutely. And then you're finalized with about 90, and then it just filters from there. And now with La Voz, it's the same thing. So it's like another 40, 50,000. So you team all that up, and it's not just singing. There's a lot about the backstory, what you do, what you're involved in. One of the things that the producers really appreciated about my background, and this is another thing I like to talk to with musicians and teaching, that you have to be consistent in life. And I've always been an advocate for anti-bullying, anti-hate, more love and peace in this world. And over the years, ever since, my departure from The Voice, I've maintained that campaign. Inspiring people, inspiring artists, inspiring our youth, being part of organizations, kids with cancer, playing in hospitals. And they appreciated that, because it goes to show you that music it's a conduit that allows you to do all these great things, and it's a passion for me. So the ride and the experience, the talent that you meet, they're like brothers and sisters. It's not even, strangers. And now being on La Voz, it's even more humbling, because it's my second opportunity to show the world that I could, perform in Spanish. And it was actually pretty nerve-wracking. Everyone knows me as the rocker. I got to go out there in national TV and sing a ballad. That was the first time in my life that I ever got nervous, believe it or not.
Really?
Yeah.
Singing in your native language.
In my native language.
Was harder than singing in English.
Because I speak Spanish, I communicate well, but there's a lot of words that I don't understand, and there was a lot of pressure because I've never performed live singing Spanish. And they're like, yeah, no, it's going to be great.
Are there songs you prefer in Spanish or versus English, and vice versa?
Yeah, and vice versa, yeah. There's certain songs that I've always been comfortable with.
Well, not all songs translate well, though, either, right?
No, not at all. Not at all. And you have to be pretty, finicky with what you choose. In certain words, like you said, some of them don't really come off that great, but for the most part, you have to be very, very selective. And on the show, they choose the songs for you, so it's even more challenging.
Oh, they do?
Yeah, they do. It's challenging.
Oh. So they tell you what song they want you to
correct.
sing.
And you have to think outside the box now, because now you're confronted with a song that I've never heard before, from an artist that I've never heard, lyrics that escape me most of the time. So it's a lot of pressure. And then on top of that, coupled with interviews that you have to do, you have to speak as eloquently as possible in a language that I may be 60% comfortable speaking. So you learn quick on the road, you really, really do. But all in all, it's like a family. It's not like I'm even singing for Telemundo. It's like I'm hanging out with my brothers and sisters and aunts and uncles.
So where are they? Where's it taped?
It's in Miami.
The Spanish.
Yeah, the whole
La
show.
Voz.
Yes.
And The Voice, where was that?
That was in Hollywood.
That was in Hollywood.
It was Universal Studios.
Okay, so that was in Universal. And this one's in what part of Miami?
It's it's a great question. I know the studio's name is Cisneros. Cisneros.
So it's in the heart of Miami.
It's the heart of Miami. It's actually, there's so many incredible artists.
It's not like at the Fontainebleau or the Lowe's or something.
No.
Where you get to relax during
Yeah,
downtime,
you do.
right?
Oh, people think it's like I'm hanging out in palm trees. And
That's,
it's like,
and that's not the
we
case.
don't even see the sun when we're
That's
out
right.
there. Quite frankly, it's actually cold because we're always in the studio. So we're dying to get outside for some warmth. Yeah, it's pretty funny.
So, as a photographer,
Yes.
we talked about that in professional editorial photography. You've been doing that for how long?
Wow, close to, I'd say 16 years.
So what's the biggest accolade we've talked a lot about music. What's the biggest accolade you received as a photographer?
Getting my pictures in Times Square. I mean, that's huge. Every person, whether you're foreign or domestic, you come to New York City and you see Times Square, you're like, wow, whether you're a model or a makeup artist, you would kill to be showcased on those billboards, and I've had the luxury of having multiple images up on there. So
yeah.
so it was really exhilarating. And
Did you go by and take a photo of the billboard to
I
make sure?
don't. You know,
You
I
don't?
really. It's funny,
Oh, I
but
thought yeah.
And most people would think that, but like I said, I do it because I have a passion for it. You know, I don't do it for the spectacle. And granted, I will gladly take it. You know, because it's better street credit, if you will.
Sure. Hey, this is mine. I did this. Yeah.
But the only reason why I was notified is because friends of mine are like, dude, your photographs are in Times Square. Models would call me and tell you, oh my God, I was walking by and I saw your pictures up on there. So it's really gratifying and humbling at the same time.
So you talked about kids a little bit earlier, and you talked about the message on bullying. And you did a short video on that as well.
I did. It was
that
a series
you passed
of
around
videos.
the school. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was and I had the good fortune of seeing it. Tell us were you bullied as a kid? What inspired you to do that?
I was 6'2" tall, but the thing is that there's different forms of bullying. There's verbal bullying, there's physical bullying. I mean, there's a lot out there that we need to educate our kids on, but more importantly, we need to empower them with the self-confidence of loving themselves. And I teach my daughter personally that if somebody has a problem with you, it's because they have an inner void themselves. And you have to be sympathetic as well. I know that's tough to do. But being bullied by someone means that they dealt with something very difficult, and that's their outlet. So I try to be the bigger person, you know. You allow people to be who they are as long as it's not too confrontational, obviously, or it's not physically imposing on you. But, you know, you give people a chance, you know, and say, well.
So does your 13-year-old daughter get that message?
Yeah, she does.
Does.
She's like, well, Dad, I don't care what anybody thinks about me. I dress the way I want. I talk the way I want. And that's the way it should be. We all have something to offer this world, you know, and it's a shame that stuff like this in this century still goes on. I'm baffled that racism still exists. I'm baffled that all that segregation exists. And it's a sad scenario, and that's why I become more adamant over the years and using my artistic qualities to get that message out there. And like I said, that's why I want to focus on the kids, because if you start them young.
So Manny, would that be one of your advice to people who want to get involved in the arts, is to deliver a message through the arts?
I think so. I think if you're going to perform or do anything in the creative realm, you know, do it because you're passionate about it, but do it for good reasons. You know, do something that would contribute positivity into this world. And I don't care if it's a painting, a sculpture, a photograph, something that inspires somebody else to do the same thing. You know, that's my mantra. Every day I wake up, you know, I give thanks that I'm alive, and I'm grateful for another day of life and to assist others in pursuing their dreams as well.
So Manny, tell me about the competitions. I mean, everybody sees you on stage performing or on the television performing, and people are like, I can do that. I want to participate in a singing competition, or for women, they want to participate in the Miss America competition. The actual participation, getting there, is not as glamorous as it may think. It's difficult. Tell us about
absolutely not. It's all work. You know, it's all work ethic. You have to have tough skin. And in this industry specifically, you will get, and this is just a minimal number, you'll get 100 no's before you get that one yes. So you need to develop thick skin. You need to develop the confidence. You need to master your craft before anything. And just like on The Voice, I didn't win The Voice. I went home early, but I left my mark on the show because everyone realized that I assisted in inspiring them. You know, and the adage that they used was, I left the show gracefully. Because if you live in the moment and you enjoy the journeys, it's just a chapter. The reason why I left the show is because that chapter of my life closed. Now I'm being called somewhere else. So you never look at a situation as negative. There's no such thing for me as bad or good. It just is. It's how we interpret a situation. And if you keep pursuing your dreams, the opportunities will come about. You know, like the saying, you know, luck is preparation meets opportunity. You got to keep working at it, because the worst thing that any person can do, not just artists, is quit. That is the worst thing that you can do. Because just when you want to give up, just when you're getting over that hill and you're like, I can't do this, that's when things start turning around for you. And that's
So
happened to me.
Manny, you describe a lot of things. Could you ever describe yourself in 3 words?
Oh, I wouldn't want to. You know, I let
That's tough, right?
I let my friends do that for me, because I just try to walk the right path and do good by people. And, you know, as long as they tell me that I uplifted them and I helped them gain the momentum, or I help them reach their goals, I'm good with that. If I left a mark, I want to be like the future John Lennon, you know, who stood for love and peace in this world. You know, that's all I want. I'd be happy with that.
So tell me, we talked about social media earlier and how you can't. How do people get touch with you now if they wanted to? Is
Absolutely.
there a way?
Well, my website, it's mannycabo.com. Everything that's Manny Cabo photography, hosting, the voice, La Voz is on there. And all my social medias, it's the Manny Cabo. And I keep it consistent all the way through.
So you're still able to be reached, in other words.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So before we close, we've talked about a lot of uplifting things and things that are positive.
Right.
But what was the most difficult performance you ever did? Was it the one you talked about when you were nervous going on La Voz? Or was there something more difficult?
I got to tell you, it was up there. I think the most difficult performance that I've ever had to perform happened about a year and a half ago. There was a little girl, Logan, who unfortunately has been plagued with a lot of heart issues. She was about 12 years old. And insofar as the family went to visit me in Nashville, this little girl, I got her through her heart surgeries. She was watching my blind audition over and over. She even dressed up as me for Halloween. So probably about a year ago, she passed. And they asked me to sing, at her funeral. And I got to tell you, they did Here I Go Again. And I got maybe, 10 seconds into the song and I broke down, and they just kept on playing. I said, no, you keep on playing. And then I don't know how I recovered. And I just finished the song. But it goes to show you that you never know whose life you're going to affect. I didn't do it for anything but the fact that I showed people that it doesn't matter how old you are, it doesn't matter where you are in the world. If you do the right thing, if you have a positive message, you're going to touch somebody's soul. And half the people that I get messages from nowadays are all parts of the world. I've got 2 laptops and an iPad with Translate on, responding in Japanese, in Hungarian, in whatever language, Italian. And people see you, they may not understand what you're saying, but they get you. They get your vibe, And in a situation like Logan, it was incredible how a young girl, 12 years old, looked to me for inspiration. She didn't know who I was, and here I am, on a show that gave me the opportunity not only to sing, but to help somebody get through some really difficult moments, especially her family.
And on that closing story, Manny, I want to thank you for taking the time to join us.
pleasure.
That's a very moving, touching story. And I wish you well in all that you attempt to do,
Thank you.
especially in your message to kids on bullying.
Thank you. Well, let's
Good
work
luck.
together. We could do something,
All right. I want to thank Mr. Manny Cabo for joining us on Our City. And I'm Chris Bolwage. We'll see you next week on another edition of Our City.